Okay, welcome to Lesson 2, Chapter 4. Lesson 2 is about relations. Relations is a new word, so I want you first of all to put this on your gold sheet. Please do so right away. The key thing to remember is that a relation is any set of ordered pairs. So right here is a relation, but the thing to think about is that although we can clearly see that here these are ordered pairs of -2 and +3, and then we have 1 and 2, okay? It also should be noted that these are ordered pairs as well. Notice that all the numbers are the same, it's just that they're in a table rather than expressed as an ordered pair like this. Okay? We can also look at this and recognize that these are indeed ordered pairs. We can look at the first one, -2, +3. We can go to -2 over to -2 and up to +3, and that's this point here. So in other words, these points are all these as well as these. This is 3 different ways, ordered pairs, a table, and a graph, to basically state the same thing. The other thing that I want you to notice here is that we have a domain and a range here. I want you to notice that this domain right here is shown right here with these points. We have -2, 1, 0, and 3. And that furthermore, this set of values is the range. So to recap, a relation is any set of ordered pairs. We can also represent a relation as a table or as a graph. And then lastly, the domain is the set of x coordinates, and the range is the set of y coordinates, whether they be in a table like this or in an ordered pair like this. Okay, so let's take a look at problem number 1 here. It asks to express the relation 2, 6, -4, -8, -3, +6, and 0, -4 as a table and as a graph. So we would take these values and we would put them in a table. They've done that for you here. We have 2, 6 is right here, then -4, -8 is right here, etc. So that's the first thing. Place them in a table, and then also they want you to graph them. And remember, we should know this really well by now, but I will refresh. To plot that first point, 2, 6, we always start at the origin 0. We move 2 to the right, because that's on the x-axis, it's positive. We move 2 right, and then we move from that point up 6, and the reason we're moving up 6 is real simple, because it is a +6. To plot the next point, for example, let's do this point, -4, -8, we would start at the origin, move to -4, and then from that point move to -8. Right there's that point, and this right here was our first point. The last thing that it asks us to do is to state the domain and range. And there's one very important point here, so please pay close attention. But remember, we were told that the domain is, or are, the x values. The domain refers to the x values. So we have, notice we didn't put the domain as 2, -4, -3, or 2, -4, -3, and 0. We put it in order from least to greatest. We'll just put the L and the G. From least to greatest. So it's -4, then -3, 0, and 2. We do the same thing for the range. But another thing I want you to notice about the range, so in this case we have these values for the range. We put them in order from least to greatest. So our least is -8. It's right there. And then the next one would be -4, right there. And then the next one we have a 6 here and a 6 here, and notice we only put it in the range once. You do not need to repeat values. So the 2 rules here I want you to make sure you pay attention to is, first of all, we put them least to greatest, and least to greatest here as well, and secondly, in the range you do not need to put a value twice. Please press pause and do letter A. Don't forget to state the domain and range, as well as plotting or filling in the table and plotting the 4 points here. All right, let's do problem number 2, example number 2. It costs $3 per hour to park at the Wildwood Amusement Park. So our key phrase here is $3 per hour. They would like us to make a table of ordered pairs in which the x-coordinate represents the hours and the y-coordinate represents the total cost. So I'm going to put that on here right away. The x-coordinate represents hours, so if it was me, I would label that H. And the y-coordinate represents the total cost, so I'm going to put a $sign here. So right away we recognize that we would have dollars on our y-axis and we would have hours on our x-axis. And now they gave us the values of 3, 4, 5, and 6 for hours. 3, 4, 5, and 6 for hours. So now if we go back to our original statement, it says $3 per hour. Well, we could easily make an equation here where we start with our output. Our output is dollars, so I'm going to use D. Dollars equals, what is our unit rate? Our unit rate is $3 per hour, so our slope is 3. And we're going to take that $3 and we're going to multiply it by our input, and our input right here is H. So our dollars is 3 times H. So if we take 3 times 3, for the first one we get 9. If we take 4 and multiply it by 3, we get an output of 12, and you can see that we get 15 and 18 here. So we have our values here so that we can plot these. We plot 3, 9. We move to 3 on the x-axis and then up to 9 on the y-axis, plot our first point. Our next point is at 4:12, then at 5:15. Right here is where we're getting our numbers from. And lastly at 6:18. And once again, if you look carefully at it, you should recognize that we could indeed put a nice straight arrow on that, and we could graph it like that. Please press pause and do letters B and C. Don't forget to label both of your axes, plot all the points. You should also label those points, and of course fill in the table.